for meetings with Kim Jong-un. It said Kim was open to talks on denuclearization if his regime could be assured of its own long-term security. If true, this is the first time the North Koreans have said they'll even discuss disarming, which has been a consistent demand of the U.S. We turn now to two men with years of experience dealing with North Korea and different views of what this all means. Joseph Detrani was special envoy for Korea during the George W. Bush administration, and he then oversaw the intelligence community's work on North Korea for the Director of National Intelligence. He's now adjunct professor at Missouri State University Graduate School of Strategic Studies. And Bruce Klingner had a 20-year career in the intelligence community where he focused on Korea, including chief of the CIA station in South Korea in the 1990s. He's now a senior research fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Joseph, I'd like to start with you first. Please. What do you make of this overture? The North Koreans allegedly say that they will talk about denuclearization if they can be assured of their security. What do you make of that?
No, I think it's a positive statement. The fact is, we've been having this discussion with North Korea since 1994, and we had some progress in 2005 with the joint statement. So we've been there. We've had this discussion. The key will be the particulars. What are they talking about when they talk about security assurances? We think of a peace treaty. We think of some assurances that we have no ill intentions. Occasionally, or more than occasionally, North Korea has other interpretations of security assurances. It could even include our presence on the Korean Peninsula, our military presence in the Korean Peninsula, or indeed our presence in the region. So it's a question of us sitting down and getting the particulars, the details. What does this young man, because we've not negotiated with this man, we negotiated with his...
Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un. We negotiated with his father, Kim Jong-il, who agreed to a joint statement in 2005 committing to comprehensive, verifiable, irreversible dismantlement of all their nuclear programs. Now this young man comes into power, has a significant arsenal of weapons and delivery systems, and is saying, I'm not prepared to denuclearize. Now he's saying he is prepared. What does that mean?
Bruce Klingner, do you share that trace of optimism I heard there?
Well, right now the two Koreas are rushing down the path of reconciliation. It's a well-trodden path. To date, it's always led to both of them rushing off the cliff like lemmings. But we can always run down the path again and hope for a different result. You know, it is a significant development. It's a bit surprising, especially considering where we were in late December when it seemed like we were on an inevitable path to some kind of military conflict. So this is really a dramatic change. The Koreas really are leading the game right now. There's some concerns in Washington as to how eager South Korean President Moon is, whether he will have less conditions or more eagerness than the U.S. may want. But at least right now we're starting from a good place. The South Korean president, he's a progressive, but he adopted a much more centrist policy towards North Korea than many of us had expected. He reversed himself on a number of issues. So now he was, up until now, been pushing pressure over engagement.
Joseph Detrani, though, explain, why should we believe them now? There are plenty of administrations. You both have been through this process where the North Koreans make promises and then those promises are broken. Why believe them now?
Well, he has pain. North Korea is suffering now. Indeed,
because of our sanctions?
Well, the sanctions are biting, there's no question. Also, the military exercises. I mean, we've introduced strategic forces in those exercises.
These are the U.S.-South Korean exercises.
U.S.-South Korean exercises. And it's got to be intimidating for North Korea. But also, I might add, Kim Jong-un has had a good year in 2017 in regards to his nuclear and missile programs. 25 missile launches, to include an intercontinental ballistic missile that can touch the whole of the United States, a hydrogen bomb test. So he's coming to the table feeling a little better about himself.
So you think his success in his testing regimen makes these negotiations maybe more feasible?
I think that's part of the equation. It's not only the sanctions that are biting and the military exercises, the joint exercises that are intimidating, it's him feeling a little more confident that he has this arsenal and he'll be treated, I think, with what they usually talk about, greater respect. So what does that mean? It's the particulars, it's in the details. And that's why some exploratory discussions, I'm not saying negotiations. I don't think we should go into negotiations until we're clear as to what their intentions are. Is he serious about comprehensive, verifiable, irreversible dismantlement? That is our position, and it's a correct position. I think everyone agrees North Korea with nuclear weapons would be catastrophic.
Bruce Klingner, what do you make of the other news that came out of this, that Kim Jong-un and Moon Jae-in might potentially be meeting face-to-face very soon? How significant is that?
Well, it's very significant because it would be the third time, only the third time, that two Korean leaders have met. I think it's a positive development that it'll be in the border area of Panmunjom. Also, the area is fairly austere, so it's not going to have all the diplomatic trappings of state dinners, and if it was in North Korea, the North could have controlled the message more. Here it's going to be much more businesslike. It's going to be in these pavilions, which are very austere, so I think it'll be more of a case of they arrive and they get down to business. Now, the business is the difficult part, and we've been down this path many times, so I think there's a lot of reason and justification for being skeptical.
Joseph Detrani, what would you, if you were advising the Trump administration, how would you have them respond to this overture?
Well, I think exploratory discussions would be justified. Indeed, if North Korea halts its missile launches and indeed has no nuclear test, I think that would, and they know that we will move forward with our joint military exercises with South Korea. That
which they did not ask us to
They did
abandon.
not say to walk away. Eventually, they'll ask us to scale them back, and eventually they'll ask us to cease and desist. So they're moving down that path. But I think exploratory discussions, where we're not putting anything, we're not giving anything to them, they in fact are halting what they're doing. We should listen to them and question them. Because there is a joint statement. I keep mentioning the 2005 joint statement. It took us 2 years of hard negotiations to get that, and then 4 years of pursuing it. And North Korea then walked away from it. I mean, there's a document there, and there's a lot of work there. That could be revisited. And North Korea could be asked, well, if your father, Kim Jong-il, committed to this, why have you persisted with your nuclear and weapon? And if you're so concerned about security assurances, what do you mean by that? What do you look at besides a peace treaty? And I think in the statement from the South Koreans, I think they noted they would like normal relations with the United States. This is something they've always wanted. Indeed, that is the best security assurance they can get. But they need to work hard at getting that, not only because of nuclear and missile issues, human rights and illicit activity issues.
Bruce Klingner, what would you have the administration do?
I think we need to obviously have close coordination with our allies, not only South Korea and Japan. Right now, the momentum is such that we can't stay out of the diplomacy game. There's been a lot of questions whether President Trump was supportive of diplomacy or not, a lot of focus on whether the U.S. was going to do a preventive attack or not. So now that we're actually getting to diplomacy, really because in a way we're being dragged into it by the two Koreas, it's sort of a case of the dog catching the car. We don't really know what to do with the car now because the administration hasn't articulated what it's looking for or what its conditions or preconditions are for engaging with the North.
Bruce Klingner, Joseph Detrani, thank you both very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Stay with us. Coming up on the NewsHour.